The TRON ARES soundtrack, the new album from Nine Inch Nails, features some callbacks to some great songs of Nine Inch Nails' past, while perfectly capturing the TRON vibe. You know what? Even if the movie sucks, at least we got this soundtrack. Let's break it all down on this edition of Rock Album Review. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. TRON ARES is the soundtrack to the upcoming movie of the same name, starring Jared Leto, and is the follow-up to Nine Inch Nails' Ghost 6, which came out in 2020 as Halo 35 of the Nine Inch Nails discography. And I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, going back at least 25 years to the Fragile record, which came out in 1999. That was a huge record for me when I was in high school. I love all of Trent and Atticus's work, but I kind of fell off the wagon over the last few EPs and albums they released, like the Bad Witch album and Ghost 6. But I also love Trent and Atticus's soundtrack work. The Social Network is one of my favorite soundtracks slash scores, but they've done so much now that I've lost track. You know, they've done the soundtracks for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, Soul, Challengers, Watchmen. We've gotten way more soundtrack material from Trent and Atticus in the last decade than new Nine Inch Nails material. Before we continue, guys, if you like this review, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd very much appreciate that. And make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos here on the channel. All right, let's get back to it. And from what I understand, this is the first major soundtrack to be released under the Nine Inch Nails name instead of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, although Trent Reznor did do the soundtrack to the video game Quake back in 1996, so I don't know what's official and what's not official. According to Nine Inch Nails fans, you guys can let me know in the comments below. But either way, it's cool to see them bring together the two sides of their musical passions, the soundtrack side and the Nine Inch Nails side, under the same banner. And really, what better project to do it than the new TRON movie? Like, I feel like Nine Inch Nails and TRON were meant to be together. And Nine Inch Nails have their work cut out for them. The TRON Legacy album, which came out in 2010, was recorded by Daft Punk, so they better give us some good beats as we explore the grid. And it's always weird listening to a soundtrack before the actual movie comes out. TRON ARES doesn't come out in North America until October the 10th, so it feels like it should be the reverse experience. Like, I find myself listening to this album trying to figure out plot points as I listen to the music and looked at the track titles. And at least the soundtrack doesn't spoil anything major like the Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace soundtrack did back in 1999. Remember Qui-Gon's Noble End? As far as I can tell, there are no spoilery titles on here like Jared Leto's character dies on the track list. And most of the soundtrack, as expected, is instrumental. There's actually only 4 songs on this record that feature Trent Reznor on vocals, so it's very similar to other soundtracks that we've gotten from Trent and Atticus. And I found a lot of the instrumentals to be enjoyable. Like, it sounds like Nine Inch Nails. That is pretty much what you're getting, but it didn't really blow me away. They seem like they're mainly background music. Of course, this is a score for movie scenes, after all, that are going to feature dialogue and all sorts of other different things going on. So they are here to support the story instead of being the focal point themselves. What did blow me away from the TRON ARES soundtrack was the first single that was released a few months ago, so we've had some time to live with it. As Alive as You Need Me to Be. This is an absolute beast of a Nine Inch Nails track. I love the intro, especially. It kicks in so hard. This song is just killer in every way. It's got a killer vocal and melody from Trent. It still has that great snarl in his voice, and it's one of my favorite tracks of the year already from 2025 for sure. I love the energy on this song. I blasted it in my car all the time, and I think it perfectly matches the TRON vibe with its electronic beat, and the beat is certainly fat on this song. It's one of the best Nine Inch Nails songs in a very long time. This is an awesome track. Give me something to believe in. However, I wish I felt the same about some of the other vocal tracks featuring Trent Reznor on the soundtrack as I did with As Alive as You Need Me to Be. I know you can feel it has a cool vintage drum kit beat to it. One of the other tracks on this record to feature Trent on vocals, and it could be lifted right off of past Nine Inch Nails records like The Fragile. It reminded me a lot of that album. It's a little bit different, but it didn't really strike me or impact me as much as Alive as You Need Me to Be. But you know what? It sounds like vintage Nine Inch Nails. I didn't love it, but it's still a cool track. Who Wants to Live Forever? Another one with vocals on it. Sounds like a video game, which I guess makes sense for a TRON soundtrack. You got Trent on vocals on this one, and it sounds a little bit different for him. It sounded almost like a Nine Inch Nails pop ballad, like Trent was singing a song from Broadway or something. And I'm all for him doing new things and experimenting, but this was kind of weird for me. It features Spanish singer, am I saying this right? Jude Line on vocals. She's got a really nice voice, but it kind of sounds the same as a lot of other female singers that are around these days. It's interesting, but I didn't really love the song. But Shadow Over Me, which closes out the album and presumably might be the end credits song of the movie, definitely has more of that upbeat, electronic, dancey vibe of Nine Inch Nails that I wanted to hear more on this album. So I'm glad that the album ended on that note. It's a very, very cool tune. Otherwise, I found this to be a much more passive listening experience than most records that I review on this channel. Of course, it's mostly instrumental. And again, this is music for a movie that I have not seen yet. It might pop a little bit more once I see the film and match the music to certain scenes. And I've discovered with this soundtrack and the Social Network soundtrack and lots of other soundtracks that I've listened to from Nine Inch Nails and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is that they have three types of different instrumentals. They have the piano instrumental, they have the synth organ instrumental, and they have the like electronic dancey instrumental. And most of the instrumental tracks on the TRON ARES soundtrack fall into those three categories. Again, this is music for a film, so I'm not judging it based on them being conventional songs. I particularly enjoyed the instrumentals that repeated the motifs from the first single, As Alive as You Need Me to Be, on tracks like Infiltrator and Target Identified. It was cool to hear those motifs repeated and called back to throughout the soundtrack. And some of these instrumentals sound like echoes of great songs from Nine Inch Nails' past. In It reminded me of Closer, had a very similar beat to that. Echoes reminded me of The Fragile, and you know what? Those are all good callbacks. As for the rest of the instrumentals, they had some cool moments, and it sounds like Nine Inch Nails, which of course is awesome, but your mileage may vary depending on how much instrumental soundtrack music you like to listen to. It's no Social Network soundtrack, but still a solid listen. And overall, putting Nine Inch Nails and TRON together is a good combination. They understood the assignment and made a soundtrack that I'm sure syncs up really well with a movie that I have not seen yet. Still got a couple of weeks until it hits theaters. I'm not really sure if I'm going to go see this in the theater or stream it later on. We'll see. I found the TRON ARES soundtrack to be a cool listen. We got some great instrumentals that I'm not sure I'd listen to again on their own, but the tracks with Trent on vocals are pretty solid, especially As Alive as You Need Me to Be. That is an all-time Nine Inch Nails classic, and this is a cool soundtrack. I'm going to give the TRON ARES soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails a solid 3 out of 5. And that is it, guys. That is my rock album review for the TRON ARES soundtrack from Nine Inch Nails. Let me know what you thought of the soundtrack in the comments below. Are you going to go see the movie in theaters? You know what? I think it'd be pretty cool to finally see the movie after listening to this soundtrack. So let me know what you think of the soundtrack. Let me know if you're going to go see the movie. Make sure to like this video with a thumbs up. I'd very much appreciate that. And make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos here on the channel. And I'll see you guys again for another rock album review here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.